This week on Bible Breakfast, we're in Psalm 23, and we're looking at 4 benefits to having God as our shepherd. It's Wednesday, and that means it's time for benefit number 3. So here it is. When God shepherds our life, we can be fearlessly confident through all challenges. So let's talk about fear and its related phenomenon, anxiety. I think there are a lot of misunderstandings about the Christian idea of fear and how to deal with it, and it is a big deal, particularly for young people. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, 38% of teenage girls and 28% of boys have a diagnosable anxiety disorder. Google searches for anxiety doubled between 2012 and 2017. And young people know it too. When I talk to young people now, one of the questions I often ask is, do you have memes about your bad mental health saved on your phone? The answer is yes, over half of the time. A 2017 New York Times article called anxiety, quote, a shared cultural experience that feeds on alarmist CNN graphics and metastasizes through social media. So we are living our lives in this heightened state of alertness and stress, playing movies in our mind about what's happening and where it might go and what might happen in the future and what we should do and if we've done enough. And our stress and anxiety levels are already near max when we walk out the door. And it completely changes the way that we interact with people. It changes what we talk about, and ultimately, it really harms our ability to really be present with the person, with those people. I've watched this anxiety set in all kinds of people around me during COVID. I have felt it set into my own heart. I've been amazed at the number of in-person conversations that immediately leave the personal and mirror whatever is happening online. I've run into people, somebody I haven't seen because, hey, how you doing? How's your family? Oh, we're good. Man, I just wish we could figure out the situation with that. And then they'll say their side on whatever today's controversy is online. It is the first topic of conversation, first thing that comes to mind. Why? Because the anxiety track was already running underneath. What's going to happen? Will it get worse? Will I face suffering? We're playing this track in our heads, so that's what we're able to talk about. And it interferes with the gift of, seeing a friend in a time when that's a rare delight. So what's the way out? How does having God as our shepherd help us deal with fear and anxiety? First, by removing our illusion of control. Scott made the point that domesticated sheep sleep very soundly. Wild sheep are like the most frightened, neurotic creatures in all of creation, because domestic sheep have a shepherd who they know is in control. See, we don't believe that God is in control because we have become so rich and powerful that we actually think that we are in control. And in a lot of ways, we are. I have a dear friend who was born at 20 weeks. That's halfway. A baby cannot live independently at that age. But doctors intervened. He is now a successful entrepreneur with a wife and kids. I live in Alaska, and I could drive 5 minutes from here and buy mahi-mahi or fresh dates. That is an insane to have that kind of power, the kind of power and control that we have over our lives. Much more than any other people who've ever existed in human history. But this has also given rise to the illusion that we can control much, much more than we actually can. We need to rediscover the art of trusting our shepherd because he actually is in control. What this means is, again, taking our fears directly to God. Peter tells us to cast our anxiety on God. Take it there and throw it on him. You read something online. You're going back to school this week. You had a phone call with your mother, whatever it is. Now you're experiencing fear and it's threatening to turn into anxiety. You need to bring that thing to him and throw it on him. You say, God, I don't want this to happen. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid that what will happen if it does. I won't be able to do this, that this person will do something, whatever. Just tell him everything. If it's hard, write it down as a letter. It'll be easier, I promise. The other thing is to be prayed for. James tells us to pray for each other that we might be healed. And so share with a trusted brother or sister. Ask directly, hey, I'm struggling with fear. Can I share it with you and would you pray for me? This is why it's so important to avoid the kind of shame-based competitive Christianity that we talked about yesterday. Far too many people have read "do not fear" in the Bible, and they don't want the church to know because they're afraid that having that feeling is a sin. The feeling isn't a sin, it's biology. But when sin gets a hold of it, it can become something very, very debilitating. And that's not what God wants for us at all. That is what it means that God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control. God bless you, Change Point. Have a great day. Remember, you're not in control, but that's good news because you have a good shepherd. Even in the valley of the shadow of death, you need fear no evil. See you tomorrow.